Perfect. So it's going to be a shorter video today. I'm going to be making air fryer pork belly. I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of a twist. I'm going to be using some bulldog ramen seasoning. It's more of a sauce, very spicy. This is just one that we didn't like the flavor of it, habanero lime. It cooks well with this though, as it'll caramelize all the sugar in it. So apart from that, we have sriracha spice if we want. I always do smoked paprika as well as garlic powder on the bottom, and we always add Korean barbecue as it adds a nice salty and sesame taste. So we're going to need salt, just regular table salt, iodized. We're going to need canola oil a little bit later on in the process here. We're going to baste it a little. And we're going to need vinegar. So just white vinegar. And all I did already was just brush a light layer of white vinegar on here. And with a just sharpened knife, because it has to be incredibly sharp to cut the skin here, we're just going to gently cut in and do just tiny little, just breaking the skin on the surface. So this will allow it to kind of pop open a bit once it is cooking, and also absorb a little bit of that salt to dry it out. That'll give us a really nice crispy top. Perfect. So I'll be right back here. Alright, so I've now cut the entire top of this pork belly, and you can kind of spread it apart. You can see I don't go too far into the meat. With the layer of fat, we want to remain in there. Even shallow cuts are really good. Let me give you a good example here. So these are perfect shallow cuts, just separating enough for a little line when you stretch it open. We're going to flip the pork belly over, and we're going to take about 1 inch at a time and try to just cut down to that fat layer that we didn't pierce. So when we do that, that's nice and deep. So you want it about that thick inside, just so we can get some spices and things in between here. So let me do another, and then let me space it out so we get a little bit more here. You can cut them even smaller, but I find it's harder once it's separated. It likes to kind of pull apart as it is here, falling side to side. Perfect. So now as you can see, it all pulls apart really nicely, and this is where we're going to work our seasoning into. That'll be underneath the pork belly, give it a nice, really good cook and marinate. So I'll be right back here. I'm just going to combine all of these seasonings into this cup. One little package of bulldog seasoning. You don't absolutely have to do this. You could even use chicken stock or another sauce you like. Chipotle's and adobe sauce would be really good. Blend it up there. Awesome. Next we're going to add 1 tablespoon of the Korean barbecue powder. And we're also going to just do a tablespoon of the garlic here. Let's say just under a tablespoon of the garlic powder. It can be a little overwhelming, but will also absorb better into the pork here, as it's a bit of a nicer powder. So we're going to add 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. I love this. With the sauce underneath, it'll already turn the pork here red once it's finished cooking, but it'll also add a really nice smoky flavor, which will go really well with the crispy skin on top. Alright, we're going to add half a tablespoon here of sriracha powder, and that's from Kirkland. So Costco sriracha powder here. And this will be our mix. I'm just going to mix it up. I'm going to use the same little tool that I used on the vinegar, and we're just going to mash this all together. So for this part, it is going to be a little bit noisy here. So I've completely coated all of the inside edges of this. I'm avoiding touching the top as much as I can. I might get a little bit of red on there. But now that the bottom here is cut up and then fully seasoned and kind of marinated, this could be left in the fridge to dry the top a little bit more. But what we're going to do is just flip it over here. So a little bit had gone through. Not really a problem. We just want to remain most of the top of this dry. And put it right in the center of our tin foil, and we get to build it a little house here. So what we're going to do is just tuck the walls. You can have some sauce on your fingers at this point. It's not going to cause too much of an issue. So this is actually just to capture the oil that will be kind of seeping out of this fat as it cooks. So do a little bit close. So we want it right up to the edge of the top layer of skin here. I don't know if I can show you that. You want it right to the edge. I'm going to pop this side up as well. Tuck these in, tuck them up. kind of like doing a little Christmas present. Just want to ensure that there's no rips. So you want to make sure that if oil were to come out of this, let me tug these up a little. I want to make sure it wouldn't drain out the sides because we're going to be doing this in an air fryer. It is okay if it does, it'll just drain to the bottom of the air fryer, but the more liquid you can retain in here and pork fat will actually steam and cook the pork a lot better in the air fryer. So I will, in a second here, just explain the next step, and that'll be putting salt along the top, and then we're going to pop it inside of the air fryer basket. Alright, so I'm back here. I'm just going to be putting some table salt right out of the box. It's going to seem like quite a large amount, but what we want to do is completely coat side to side, as long as we're not dipping down the sides, the edges of this. You just want to give a nice thick coat where you can't see skin anymore. So there might be a little bit going off to the sides and possibly into the edges of this tin foil we made, but it's mostly preventative. So now that this is caked in white salt, we're going to lift it up, put it right in the air fryer, and this is good to go. I'm going to pop this in. I don't know what kind of settings you have on your air fryer. We're able to do 390, but initially for the 30 minutes, you're going to want to just set it to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That'll let all of the moisture seep out. The vinegar will help with that as well, with the skin drying. The salt as well will also help give a nice crispy top, and it'll be warm enough, but not too warm that we can pull it out of the air fryer after and remove the salt from the top. Perfect. So now we're at the second part. After I've cooked this pork belly at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes, I did let it sit another 5 minutes as it allows me to be able to grab the tin foil on the sides of the pork belly here. And you'll see that the salt is so cakey that it'll come off in little tiny chunks, little dried chunks here. So we're just going to take all of this and brush it off into this green bin I have here, just capture all that salt. And then what we're going to be doing is putting it into another little house that we're going to build for it. And once we've completed that, we're going to put a little bit of canola oil on top. I have just a little spray bottle I like to use, squirt it on top. And then we're going to put it back in the air fryer. This time we're going to set it for as high as your air fryer goes. So it says 400. I usually do 390 because that's all our air fryer does. And we're going to put it in for about 25 minutes. And just prior to the 25 minutes being up, you're going to want to start the high broil on your oven and also grab a little pan, as we're going to place this inside of the oven afterwards and use the high broil to crisp up the top of the pork belly really nicely. While that's cooking in the last 30 minutes here, you can also every 5 or 10 minutes just open it up, put a little bit of canola oil on top, and then just close it back up again, and that'll allow that skin to really set and crisp and get incredibly crunchy and delicious. Here is just canola oil in a spray bottle. I'm just going to douse the top a little bit, make sure we get it nice and oily. And I'll just make sure it gets kind of in those cracks there. You'll see the edges of this pork belly skin are already crusting a tiny bit. That is what we want. And if your tin foil is opening a little on the edge, that's completely fine. I'm actually going to use the oil that comes off of the pork fat. So all the fat that accumulates at the bottom, I'll be rebasting on top, as it'll give a nice, it'll give that nice crispy skin really good flavor as well, and the smokiness of the spices. So even this little stuff coming through is absolutely fine, as when it starts cooking at the higher temperature, it'll kind of bubble out, and the oil will go over top of the entire thing here. So I'm just going to pop this in the air fryer, put it in for 10 minutes. I'm going to rebaste with a little bit more canola oil after 10 minutes. And then following that, I'll see after about the 20-minute mark if it needs more canola oil. If not, I might just start basting from the bottom of the tin foil here. Alright. So I set a 25-minute timer on this. It's about halfway through at 12 minutes here. So I'm just going to pop it open, and I'm going to quickly spray a little bit more canola oil here. It's beautifully nice and crispy. I think I'll also see what I can get at the base. So if I get just in the edge here, I can baste with the red slight juice. Beauty. So I'm just going to tuck that up so we don't lose all that oil. Pop this back in, and I'm going to let it coast for another 12 minutes here, but I'm just going to preheat the oven about 5 minutes to, the high broil, just so we have it hot and ready to go. Alright, so we're back here. It's a little bit hot at the moment. So this is only 20 minutes of it cooking. I set it for 25 minutes. It seems fairly well done. The oil's bubbling really well. I can meat thermometer it, but I'm going to do that following the last step where I'm going to place it in the oven, which I've already set to high broil. I'm just going to grab this out of here as carefully as I can. Pop it down onto our other mat. And so this is a good point in time to take your little guy and take some of that moisture from the bottom, just put a little bit on top. And because this isn't all oil, there is liquid in there, we're also going to put a little bit of canola oil back on top, as we're going to really crisp the skin up here.